So this is Jordan Tucker, and this is CFUR 88.7 FM, and we're entering Ville Valo of him. And here, say hi, I guess.
Hey, everybody. What's going on?
Okay, so how do you find touring Canada different than touring in Europe?
Well, actually, the better way would be to compare United States, so like, North America to, well, this is part of North America, anyway, I guess. How do you draw the line? But anyway, it seems that the audience would be a bit different in the sense that there's way younger and prettier girls in Canada than in the States. I don't know why. No clue. Or then we just be lucky. Or then... Oi?
Less cheeseburgers.
Could be, or they're just organic here. I don't know. But so like yesterday, we met people who were like, we've been listening to your music like 10 years, and I'm 17 now. So I was like, all right. So a lot of younger people. But it's also, this tour has been kind of odd, this particular one, because we're not the headliners, we're the co-headliners, and then Volbeat fans seems to be dudes and a bit older, and they seem to have this kind of like fanatic fascination that they're like Metallica fans. So a lot of times we... Well, it used to be, yeah, back in the day. Well, no, it never left me in that sense, but I was there when Master of Puppets and all that stuff came out, so that was a big deal back in the 80s. But anyway, so they're really like just there for Volbeat, so it's been tough and really a challenge a couple of times to play gigs because there's not a lot of people, we can't take it for granted that there would be tons of people there just to see us. So, which is, it's a good thing since we haven't toured in ages, we haven't slept in a bus in ages, so it's good that we have to be kind of like on our toes a bit. As opposed to like, it being too easy.
You don't get to like coast, like just do it. You have to impress people.
Yeah, well, but that's what we're here for at the end of the day. And then it's a good thing that all the gigs are different, Well, and once again, the audience are really different from state to state and from city to city. So it's tough to say that Canadians would be different than Czechoslovakians, or people from Czech Republic.
Okay, so on Screamworks, you had the crowd screaming Baudelaire and the "If You Turn to Page 43" lyric. So are there any Easter eggs in this album? Anything hidden for the fans to find?
Well, I never thought of them as Easter eggs. I always thought that it's stupid to explain lyrics too much, and they have to mean something for the vocalist because I think that the audience can hear that when the vocalist is singing something he or she actually means, however macabre or however Ridley it might be, how much of a puzzle. So I don't think in those terms. I wanted to keep the lyrics a bit more simple on this one, but there's still a lot of hidden layers, at least for me. So that's always important. So there's like 2 or 3 stories going on at the same time.
So when you had the tape recorder thing, you have it fizzing out at the beginning and at the end, and it's making it sound kind of like a tape, like an album on tape. What do you think some of your younger fans will actually be able to know what that is? The fizzing out at the end, the young fans in Canada.
It doesn't really matter. I think the coolest thing is that we didn't release it on tape. So it's recorded in digital realm, which is like ones and zeros, and Cheers on binary code. It doesn't sound as good as Cheers on tape, and it's just something we wanted to do. When you're creating something entertaining for yourself, you don't think in terms of what some 15-year-old's going to think somewhere, or 55-year-old for that matter. So it doesn't really matter. You have to go with the flow, and it should be like the sweaty rock and roll kids in a candy store type of thing. You have to be excited when you're working on an album, so you don't think logically at times, and that's where the greatest things happen.
Okay, so here's the most boring question of all.
Thanks for giving me the heads up.
Yeah, sorry. You're not going to be excited. What's the creative process like in the studio between all of you?
Well, it's not a boring question, not at all. Well, we've been doing this for quite some time. It's basically we do a lot of stuff in what a lot of people call pre-production. So we rehearse for a lot of time, at our rehearsal place. We demo everything there. I take all the files, I record stuff on Pro Tools on my laptop and take it back to my home studio and tweak it and figure out if we can rearrange songs and make them tighter. I think that's, studio's pretty expensive, and back in the day in the '80s, I think people went into the studio and spent millions of dollars just to create even some whole songs in the studio. But I think that preparation is the most important thing, because then you just go in and do it, and then it leaves, because the kind of like you have the skeletal structure, and then you have at least some meat around the bones of the songs that enables the whole band to concentrate A on the performance, and B then just the little tiny sonic, like the icing on the cake, as opposed to like figuring out if the song is good or not. Because a lot of bands do that too, or they record 22 songs. I've never understood that, because because basically the time a band is given in a studio is approximately the same. Recording an album takes from a month and a half to 2.5 months, depending if you do 5-day weeks or 8-hour days or not, depending on the producer. But why not go there and spend the whole time on 10 really good songs as opposed to 20 like songs you're not sure of? So we try to filter that stuff out before. It could be also that it is our mistake. We always seem to like run out of songs, and we're like, oh Lord, we just need one more, and we're terribly pressured at the end of it. But I think it's different for all the bands, and we just go there and we play the music and we switch around instruments. And on this album, the thing we did a bit differently was that we were in a big room and we left all the instruments set up for the duration of the whole session, which meant that we could always go back to drums or whatever. If all of a sudden there was a cool guitar idea that stemmed from a keyboard idea, then Linda was able to just go there and try it out, as opposed to a lot of bands, and a lot of times we've done it as well, that you go in, you do scratch tracks to which the drummer plays his parts, then he takes his drums back home and doesn't come to the studio anymore, and then it's the bass player's time, the bass week, and then the guitar week, and then the keyboard week, and then the vocal week. So it was nice, and it was very creative to be able to do a lot of different stuff at the same time.
Hang out together as opposed to just all over the place.
Yeah. Well, but we've done albums in various ways, and I think that it's important to do them differently, because that keeps, again, the band on their toes. That makes it more interesting, and it doesn't feel too safe, I guess.
So, speaking of differences on your albums, you're on a different label now. How has that kind of impacted the creative process for you?
Well, none whatsoever. Because what we did was that we collected our weekly allowances, and we paid for those, and we paid for the whole recordings for ourselves. So we thought that the idea, because we had been signed to CFUR Records under Warner's for a long time, and then the whole infrastructure within the company changed. So all of a sudden we were in a situation that the label has the same name, but there's nobody we know working there. So we're kind of like hoping that maybe they would let us go, because otherwise it might. Because there's horror stories. Everybody's heard them. That there's just people with whom you don't get along, or who don't like your band, or whatever, and it becomes frustrating for every individual. So we got let go of that deal, and we were happy about it, and we thought the best thing is that let's put our own money into the recording, the whole production process, and then when we're done, or whilst we're mixing the album, then we invite people who are interested to actually listen to the finished product, because then you can see who's really actually psyched about it. So that's what we did. We played our manager flew around the world and played a couple of first mixes to maybe 20 labels, and then we, there was like 4 that were really interesting, and then we met up with everybody, and so what happened, and then the situation is rather unique, because we have 3 labels at the same time. So it's Razor and Tie here in Canada, and then in the States, and then Universal in Europe, and I think Japan and Latin America, and then a label called Cooking Vinyl / Double X Records, I think they are called, in England, like a big indie. So so it's been like a triple threat. It's like triple the amount of emails and triple the amount of stress, but at the same time, a lot of places are so, like UK is such a specialized, its own place, and it has its own rules and its own press and its own radio, and it's the whole vibe. So it's great to have a label there that knows how that place works. And same with Razor and Tie. It was just I knew Mike Gitter, a guy who works there, and hopefully he still does. He used to be with Roadrunner, and they wanted to, they wanted, well then not anymore, I guess. Roadrunner is like dwindling down all the time, but he used to work with Roadrunner in like, Cradle Filter or whatnot back in the day, and he loved him, and he wanted to sign us back in the day, and we got along really, really well. And then now that we were searching for a new deal, we realized that he's in another label, and they have all one of the bands for tonight, All That Remains. They're on Razor and Tie too. So I think yeah. So there's a couple of good bands on the and the label has all sorts of stuff. It's not just metal. So I thought that might be a good thing for us too, because we're at times is a band that's tough, pretty tough to categorize.
Yeah. Yeah, I work in music, right, at a radio station, and it's like we have genre settings on our computers, and when it comes to you guys, I never know what to put. It's like love metal. What's love metal? Like, how do I put that in the comment? So it's really fun, actually. I don't know. Yeah. Just write Ville or something. Oh, okay. So, and hard rock. Oh, okay. Yeah, hard rock. Yeah.
No, but it's good to have, especially a lot of people, not like Spotify or iTunes or whatever, they listen to stuff based on genres. So it's kind of important, at some point, like these post-hardcore bands, we're trying to be clever and be like, we're like PP core or whatever. And but the problem with that is that if you go to the genres, they're the only PP core bands. So if somebody's actually at a party and putting like all the hardcore bands, just on random whatever, you'd never hear that song. So exactly. So that's way better than my PP core. But yeah. So that's been tough as well. We've been labeled alternative and metal, which way not. And I guess rock is the best. Kind of, yeah, because it's simple, and then it's a large variety of different kinds of music, as opposed to just like a goth rock or something like that.
Well, now I know what to write in my computer, straight from you.
Devils in the details.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. What do I have in here? Oh, yes, this is my favorite question. Okay, so you got a glockenspiel for the album. That's what someone told me, that you get a glockenspiel, and there was an iPhone app and some sort of screw up around that.
That's probably the previous one. It wasn't glockenspiel. It was what the hell is it? It's Celeste, I think it is. It's like a glockenspiel sounding thing, but you play. It has a keyboard. So they use that for classical music, and then we had a real one, but that was for Screamworks. We had a real one, but it sounded worse than the application. So, which is, because it doesn't really matter how much an instrument costs or where it comes from if it sounds right. But on this one, on Tears and Tape, we actually used the real Celeste on a couple of things. Like they had an old one in the studio, and it has, the cool thing about it is a little Radiohead. I think Tom York's been using that quite a bit, and like, Nick Cave and whomever, creates this kind of dreamy, ethereal, a bit spooky, Twin Peaksian type of vibe, and especially when it's a bit out of tune or then
a little bit dissonant.
Yeah, and then when usually they don't different notes play they ring less or they're a bit more muted because it's just worn out or whatnot, and then also the clank of the actual keyboard is really interesting because if you mic it from there, because you can actually hear the fingers do it, because it's really physical to play that. It's not easy. So at least the ones we've tried out, but whatever.
Just bad Celeste players.
Could be, yeah. We have very weak fingers.
No, I'm so sorry.
Uh-huh.
One of those calls.
We are sorry too. We apologize for our fingers.
To the lashings pit.
Yes.
Okay. So, what's your favorite song to play from this album?
I don't know yet. We haven't really, like, this is the first tour. I think today is going to be we're going to be halfway through this leg of a tour. So it depends, because in different cities, different people appreciate different songs, and I think that makes all the difference for the band too. Because if you see people singing along, you perform not necessarily better, but in a different manner, it becomes a bit more, well, I don't know. Yeah, there's a bit more togetherness. We're playing All Lips Go Blue. That's always the first song in the set, so that's kind of like warming up. I like playing Tears on Tape. It's kind of epic and really melodic, and it's a bit different from what we've done in the past, so it fits the set nicely, because we're doing a lot of stuff from the first album and the second album, a bit more like rocky and riffy stuff, so it's nice to have like something, like a breather in between.
How much time do we have?
I don't know.
You've got 5 minutes? All right, sweet. So.
Not in a rush.
No, you're fine. You've got your beer. As soon as your beer ends, then,
no
then I'll be worried.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. what do you do when you get to a new city? Like, do you go adventure? Do you go to bookstores? Do you...
Well, you know, it really, really depends. Like, last time we played Abbotsford, so it was like, 590 miles. So it was approximately 10 hours, and we got here 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not a good sleeper on the bus. So I rested at the hotel. I think the most important thing when you're a musician and on tour is to try to stay as capable of performing music as opposed to like collecting postcards. So when there's a day off, you know, obviously, you know, it's nice to walk around, and I was just walking around today a bit too, but it depends. It used to be bookstores back in the day. It used to be certain kinds of restaurants. It used to be record stores. It used to be movie stores. It used to be, you know, whatever. You know, the usual stuff that people do. But normally, especially me, because I sing, so I try to take care of the voice as much as I can. So just try to take it as easy as possible, because you're not to over stress everything out. You know, it's just, you know, we've had those experiences too.
Okay. Jordan Marjorie Tucker, wake up. Sorry. Okay. And you've got many, this is a silly one. You've got many tattoos. Do you have any plans for more? Where do you...
Yeah. It's a couple, we're going to have a day and a half off in Phoenix, Arizona, so I'm trying to figure out if there's a couple of places that would have a walk-in close to a hotel. They're really simple ones, but I'm not going to tell what they are.
Okay, I'll find out.
Yeah. At some point, maybe, depending where I'm going to tattoo them. But I still haven't figured that out. But yeah, it'd be nice. And it's always nice to take something on tour, if possible. You know, it's just, you know, been a piece of, you know, like a diary in skin. So, yeah, so, yeah. That's no like grandiose plans, you know. Not doing like a Gene Simmons makeup or anything like that, you know.
Or Jesus, like, face tattoo or something.
Not quite yet. I'm not prepared for that. You know. I need to grow up first.
Well, Jesus was 33. Okay, so how much time do you spend with the band when you're not touring or not making a new album?
These days, not a lot, which is understandable. You know, we more or less we grew up together. We went to the same schools, and I've known some of the guys since I was like maybe 9 years old or 10 years old, and so we grew up together. So we hung out all the weekends. I got drunk for the first time, and we were the best of friends. And then obviously people start getting like kids and, you know, getting married. And then what we do is we're away from the families, and it's kind of intense being in the bus. And then it's really intense working on an album for months on end, and then going to a studio. There's a long processes. So it's understandable that when we get back home, everybody just wants to split. Yeah. Well, you know, it's at the end of the day, these days also it's so competitive. You know, you can't just get fucked up all the time. Which is, my apologies.
That's okay.
Yeah. So but you know, it's odd. You know, but nowadays, like, it seems that a lot of people think that rock and rollers should be like Zen monks. Yeah. You know, like going to NA and like doing yoga for like 7 hours a day. But to be honest with you, I don't know any rock and rollers who would do that and who would create good albums. I think that you know, it is the youthful search of stupidity. You know, the kind of like the central point of depravity, more or less. You know, I think it's important, but you know, these days the schedule is really tight, and there's as you know, lack of the elements of danger is lacking in rock and roll these days. So I'm not saying that we're bringing it back, but we are acknowledging that as a fact. Which is like observers.
Just like punch someone in the face or something, see what happens.
Well, I don't know.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, lawyers, I didn't tell them to do that. Don't punch someone in the face. It'll be on me.
Okay.
Okay. So I think this will be our last question, and then I'll get you to do, if it's okay, if I could get you to do a station ID. Oh, yes.
I'll try.
So are you ever going to come to Prince George? Please say yes.
Yes, I guess that we haven't been invited yet.
I'm inviting you right now.
Right. Well, whenever there's a moment, you know.
Okay.
Depending who's paying for the grub.
I can make food.
Okay. Oh, that's great.
Okay,
all right. But we're a tough bunch. We're mostly vegetarians. There's one vegan.
That's okay. I can handle that. All my friends are vegans.
Oh. I'm sorry to hear that.
I know, right? You feel guilty for eating.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so if you could just say something. This is me. Yeah.
So that's the only thing I have to say. You're listening to CFUR.
Yeah.
Do you want me to say the 88.7 FM?
Yeah, and your name. And
Yeah, sure.
Your band.
So, greetings, O Earthlings. This is Ville Valo from a band called Him from Helsinki, Finland. And at the moment you have the pleasure of listening to CFUR 88.7 FM. Be good. Or be square. Or something in between.
You are the most delightful human.
Right on.
Thank you so much.
No, pleasure.
Okay, I just here. I'll just